A very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast Club on Asake Online. My name is Sizwakele Ndlovu, and today on the show we are going to be talking about arts and how the arts sector has been affected by COVID-19 and the lockdown. My guest in the studio today is Mr. Nkululeko Innocent Dube, an award-winning arts director of Iyasa, which is Nkululeko Yabacha School of Arts. Welcome, Mr. Dube, to the Breakfast Club.
Sure. Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy and proud to be on your program.
Mr. Dube, there's a lot that's been written about you, but what I'd like to know is who were you before you became this award-winning director, and how was life when you were growing up, and where did you grow up?
I'm born in Plumtree, in Powens. I'm a Kalanga original, and of course, Bulawayo being the urban area that I grew up in, and also I went to school at Luveve, and then Mzingwane High School for 6 years. Yeah, and I also had a stint in Gweru, and of course, then I did my tertiary education, college and university, right here in Zimbabwe. But I'm Kalanga before Bulawayo, and then I'm Bulawayo before Zimbabwe.
You know, there's a certain Kalanga pride that I always come across. Some Kalanga are so proud.
Yeah, I think it's important that we really recognize ourselves. I think it's important. I am Kalanga and I'm proud to be Kalanga.
Okay. What was your personality like growing up in Plumtree?
I have one personality, and that is a person that is passionate and always looking forward to changing things. This was what I was ever since I was a child. When I listen even to the stories my father and my grandfathers will tell me, I was this kind of person that wanted to do some innovation in life, you know. Very strange stories are told of me going around the village trying to pick 5 cents amazula, if you remember them, from every villager, you know, creating puppets and making people pay for watching them as families. So I'm one person who has always had this kind of vision that one day I will change the world for the better in a good way and in a creative way. That's the important way.
So you'd make little puppet shows and go around the village?
Yes, I used to move from one homestead to the other. We take those pawpaw trees and we make puppets. With my uncle, he's late now, and we would then have a guitar, you know, those olivine guitars. So he would play this guitar and would tie this puppet to this guitar and it would dance. So we would go around the families, you know, and I think they appreciated our effort, and we would get them 5 cents right around the village, you know. Take the whole day from Ilainionke, from the beginning to the end.
Mr. Dube, there's a lot that's been written about you, but what I'd like to know is who were you before you became this award-winning director, and how was life when you were growing up, and where did you grow up?
I went to school. I was a very, very passionate artist, even at school. I always knew I had something in me and I wanted to do something that would be creative, something that would show out this creativity that I felt inside me and then create I went through school, definitely, and I did formal education, and I'm a teacher also by profession, and that's one thing that I did as a profession. But still, this light of being a creative artist never left me, especially at Mzingwane High School, where I rubbed shoulders with brilliant artists, among them people like Babongile Skonjwa, and we combined efforts, and yeah, that's how we then became recognized also. After school, we went on, and the story is long. Until Popoma High School, where I taught, and then that is where the brand Iyasa was born.
So I read somewhere that your inspiration behind starting like Igrupi Iyasa in Widyet and Popoma was the need to spice up traditional theatre. What was your inspiration in doing that?
My inspiration came from, I would say specifically, what Mbongeni Gema did to theatre arts in South Africa, where he gave it the music element, where he gave it this life that made everyone want to see, want to watch. I think he's one of those people that really made what we call musical theater grow. So this is one thing I really watched through, especially in Sarafina, where I realized the power in numbers, the strength in color, in the differences, and in colorful people, in colorful costume and all that. That's where I really got this element from. And I always wanted to change the landscape of the arts. I always say to people, one thing that is important, when you have an idea, try to add something to it that says you. It's the only thing that can grow is something that is unique, something that is different from the normal. And that was the idea. So the idea was to say, okay, yes, I'm in the arts. And how do I stand out? I can only stand out if I can create a revolution. And I decided to come up with a dance revolution, which was most of my theater and my music was based on dance and using dance, because this is one thing that people were accustomed to. And it was rare because then people were used to proper tradition, I would say proper traditional dances, and maybe watching this chilicha in its pure form, which is, I respect that. But then I said, how about we contemporize it? How about we bring in this element of township music and township dance, and then also take them back? How about we go back to the old style and mix it with the new style? And it worked out. So yeah, I decided to rebrand music and rebrand dance and rebrand theater.
So from what I've gathered so far, you didn't have any formal training. You went to school, then you're a teacher, but did you have any other training in arts and administration of the arts?
Most of it was from workshops. There were a lot of workshops that I attended, and, especially with people like Sticks Mhlanga, Nomalozi Bubega. There were a lot, of course, Amakosi. There were a lot of projects that we went into as young people, and we learned a lot about theater. And I think the biggest one was when I went to South Africa and did a stint with committed artists from Bongeni Ngema. That, I think, was where I really had a face-to-face approach to what I wanted to do and exactly how to do it. So when I came back, that was during my, I don't know what we call it when you are between your O and A level, and you haven't moved on. So what do they call it? There's a name.
Gap year.
Gap year. Yeah. So this is a year that I used to actually go and equip myself with that. And then when I came back, I went into tertiary education and university education. But then I already knew that one day I would want to try out what I had learned from South Africa.
What was your family? What did your parents say when you wanted to go into the arts?
My father is a well-known educationist. He was the head of the school that I went to, Mzingwane High School. But I can accept right now that he is one man who simply gave me two conditions. Condition number one, go through your education, and then you can decide what you want to do, and I will not stand in your way, which is what I did. So I can still thank him today, because up to today I realized that there is no way you can become a creative of stature, of respect, without academic background, without clear understanding of what you want to do academically. So yes, my parents supported me a lot in what I wanted to do. Even at school, he was the head of the school, and he allowed us, he gave us that platform to do what we wanted to do. So really, there was a lot of family support in what I wanted to do. Otherwise, I don't think I would have reached this level. But also, it was about me proving myself to them. It's very important, I think, even for young people that want to venture into what we do, to ensure that you maintain that respect between you and your parents, and also you also certify and satisfy their wishes, their ambitions about you, because every parent has an ambition about and for their children.
My mother thought I'd grow up to be a doctor, so sorry, mom. So it's hard to actually try and balance out parental wishes. But as you said, you were told to finish off your education, have a base, then branch off from there. That said, would you encourage your son to be
I would
an arts person?
My son is already making a lot of noise at home, of course. I have two sons, but my firstborn son already is also into a lot of hip hop, and I appreciate that. He's already doing a lot of artistic things. So I hope I'm not the influence, I hope he is his own influence, but I will not stand in his way. And again, I think there are things I would ask him to do differently, maybe from how I did them. But I think I would not stand in his way if that is the choice that he has. I am against him doing it because I did it. It's not hereditary. You need to want to do it. So whatever path he chooses, I will support.
I find it strange though, because how do you then stop a child from getting all your influence? You know, it is because if they've grown up around you, they've seen the music and they've seen all you do. It's not just in arts, maybe in medicine or carpentry and things like that. It's very difficult to stop a child say,
Yeah,
don't be like
it's
me.
not easy, but if you look at it also, I had parents that were educationists, but I didn't turn out to be a total educationist. I did go also into teaching for quite some years, but then I ventured later on into what I wanted to. So I think he needs to discover himself. We need to let our children discover themselves. Maybe they think they want to be like us or they should be like us, and then they realize later, no, it's not meant for them. Let it be. Or maybe they really think, no, this is not for me. Let it be. We just be there as a guideline and also as support structures to whatever dreams and goals they have.
You've had over 20 years managing what I would call a global brand, Iyasa. What have been some of your challenges and your triumphs?
Wow. Every day is a challenge. It's been more than 23 years in this industry. Some call it a sector. But it's every day is a challenge. Otherwise, then we wouldn't be doing it. I love challenges. I love trying to defeat certain challenges. The truth of the matter is, um, many people know the glory. They see the glory. They see how we have actually penetrated the whole world, Asia, Europe, America. You look all over and you realize, this is what I have achieved or what Iyasa has achieved. And they are all over the world. I don't have a formula to it. I don't know how I would say to somebody else, if you do it this way, that's how it's going to be. For me, it's been about what's in front of me at the moment. What challenge do I have right now in front of me? So it's been like, collecting, you know, uh, accolades, collecting achievements each and every day. I don't wake up and say, this year I want to win 5 awards. I just go on with what I want to do, on with my goals, on with my creativity, and with inspiring other people, inspiring young people around me. So it's very challenging, I don't want to lie. There's a lot that comes with the responsibility of leadership. There's a lot that comes with the responsibility of being, the one and person everyone looks up to. You have your own family. You also now have this other family that is called Iyasa. And then this other big child that is called the brand itself. So you have young people that look up to you and believe they've come to you so that they can achieve their goals. And their goals are different. And some are meant for it, some are not meant for it. And you are the one who is need to guide them through all that. And you are also moving in a path that probably you have not been through. So yeah, I can say the reason why I cannot go back now is because I've come this far already. But there are challenges, a lot of challenges each and every day as we do what we do.
So, Nkululeko, you hold on your shoulders, you carry the weight of so many people on your shoulders. You have this group that relies on you for inspiration and income, and they in turn have families that they need to feed. What does it feel like carrying such a burden?
Not easy at all. I think you've just summed it up that suddenly when you are carrying on your shoulders a lot of people's ambitions, there will be disappointments. There will also be a feeling of, if he had done things this way, maybe I would be there. Or if we had done things, when you have a collective, people are not the same. People are different. People have different ambitions as to why they get into something. And you being then the one that is supposed to actually make and cut it out for them that this is what they are meant to and cannot do or can't do. It's not an easy thing. So you need to inspire yourself every day. I think I'm happy that I have people around me. I have a family around me, and I have a wife. I have children around me, and a family at extended level that understands all this. So they also understand that they no longer own me alone. I'm owned by several other families. It's a difficult task, and I will not mince my words.
It's like being in politics
Absolutely.
or being a preacher. The church owns you.
Yeah, you then become a symbol of opinion, a symbol of inspiration at the same time, and also along the way, you may end up becoming also a symbol of failure for other young people or other people that you work with, because then maybe they came in with certain ambitions that you as a person also, because remember you're also a human being, you are not able to fulfill at the end of the day for them.
So let's get to the crux of the matter. There has been a lockdown for the past couple of years. We've had COVID and we've had to be under a lockdown. And arts and income is basically derived from touring, gigs, and events. How has that been for you and Iyasa?
I can't say we've gone through it at the moment, but it has been probably ever since we created Iyasa, I can call it a turning point, or one point that we can never forget and ignore in the history of our organization. Clearly, Iyasa is a touring group or organization. Most of the young people that we work with have their livelihood in traveling and doing projects, in going for shows, in doing events, in traveling to Europe and to other continents to showcase what they do and earn a living out of it. And of course, with COVID, that meant we had to take a pause. And for some of the projects already, we are still in pause, or we had to streamline it to the minimal. I mean, to the where we used to work with 20. People are used to this huge, yes, cast always, because we love numbers. We have 20, 25 people on stage, and we have to go back maybe to 8 people on stage. Already, you are denying a lot of young people an opportunity to make a living and also to showcase what they have. So the truth of the matter is that we have not seen ourselves through the effects of COVID. And I don't know when we will see ourselves through that. But fortunately or unfortunately, what happened was during COVID, we also had other projects that were running, which already were pre-funded. You know, I say fortunately because then they did keep us going until a point where maybe we got to the third COVID lockdown. That's why then I say unfortunately, because then these are projects that are timelined and they end. So when they ended, it even became more apparent that COVID was quite a huge effect. Talk about traveling to Europe, we cancelled tours last year, and we hoped that maybe, because everyone thought it was just around the corner and COVID would be gone. So we cancelled, actually we postponed international tours and hoped that this year we would get on them. And unfortunately, we could not, because then still the restrictions are there. Yes, there's been relaxation and people think it's becoming easier. It's not for the artist, because we are talking about still, this is business at the end of the day. And being business, it means numbers are important. When you say in Europe or wherever you need 50 people to watch the show, already the person that is buying the product says, the costs we will put into this versus the income we will make doesn't make sense. So it's been quite tragic that's the word I can use really to describe the effects of COVID on our work.
So, in terms of income, what have you done? What did you do in that space of time?
This was a wake-up call, and a wake up from a nightmare. It's things I know people then. I am one person who refuses when people always point fingers at artists and say they are not responsible, they don't save for the bad day. It's not true. Artists want to do that. Artists want to save. Artists want to have a good home, want to have money that they can keep for the other day. But unfortunately, before we even talked about COVID, we were talking about a sector and an industry that is already in ICU, that is struggling. It's not like artists started struggling during COVID and because of COVID. They were already struggling. It's always a hand to mouth kind of existence where you get a show, and from what you get, then you go and buy something, and that's it. So it was not easy. I know people talk about people having savings, but how many, especially in Zimbabwe, forget about artists alone, how many people would then have savings per se? So we always talk about this ideal world, but the truth of the matter is already artists were struggling then. To answer your question, we then realized that artists certainly, even from us, even from Iyasa, started doing smaller things where they were trying to earn just a bit of living. I know young people that I work with that created smaller projects online that they were selling out there, be it fitness programs, or they also were doing some dance classes. And in other cases, they started then venturing into the entrepreneurship sector, where you found them selling different things and all that. But then it was more like something that was reactionary to what COVID had challenged them to do. It was not something that was always in their plan. To be honest, we still have artists that haven't earned any money from their craft ever since the day this lockdown started. So, knowing from my own situation, we also had then the government offered a relief fund, which came 1 year later, and by the time it came, and the figure was meaningless, if I may say. So it was quite meaningless, and unfortunately, we are still in that situation. We're still in that situation where, as a director of Iyasa, you're caught up with 20, 25 young people who are no longer earning what little already they were earning from the arts before.
So in your instance, there was this government assistance. Were you the only recipient, or would your group members also get something in turn, or were you the one who was supposed to get this money and distribute it amongst all these members?
What happened was it was a relief fund that actually gave an opportunity to organizations like Iyasa to apply, and also to individual artists. And in our midst, we decided that no, we would rather our artists apply individually, because the amounts did not make sense. The whole or organizational fee or money that was given to an organization did not make sense. So it was better off with them applying as individuals, and we allowed them to apply individually. And I must say, only a few of them did manage to get the money, and it was to the individuals.
In terms of a takeaway from the lockdown, you mentioned that the art sector was already in ICU, which for me means already there's been a problem. And then COVID came along and just practically killed off the sector. What takeaway can we take from the situation? Is there a need for diversification? Is a person able to live off arts and arts alone?
I beg to differ. I would say arts is a profession. Especially where there is policy and proper policy put in place to ensure that it works as a proper industry, just like any other industry that is there in a country. I believe that, and I've seen it work all over the world. I've seen it work in other continents where artists are actually recognized as not informal. I know a lot of it is then driven by passion. This is, for me, the biggest wake-up call for us as a country is to say, let's formalize this industry or this sector. Let's make it clear who is in it. It has always been an unfenced field for everyone to jump in and do what they want, and therefore then everything becomes watered down, and then you have huge numbers of people that then say they are artists, but there's nothing really that says qualifies us as artists or qualifies people as artists. And in the end, it then affects even those people that are supposed to at least make a good living out of it. Because then anyone can wake up tomorrow and say they are an artist. But if you want to be a doctor, there's a process. You are registered. There's an association. You can't just practice. You have to prove your level. And we need that also in Zimbabwe. We need to formalize the industry, and then it will work. There are people that have lived all their life on arts. I, for instance, I'm an example of one person that I can say all my life or half of my life, I have managed to live on the arts, difficult as it may be. So what if then it was in a formal situation and it was formalized and there were structures? The problem is we don't have policy. It's something that I think is looked down upon, especially in our country. In all other countries, this is a viable profession all over the world. I think I can give a lot of examples where even the government was putting millions towards the relief of artists and also towards the relief of their work, because then they are recognized as part of the ecosystem of the whole industry. We need that. I wouldn't say it's a pastime. There are people that do art for pastime. I can understand. That's not as a profession. There are people that do it as a profession. And the moment we put structures, we put policies, we get everything organized. Because there's ironically, people that are not earning a living out of the arts are the artists themselves. But otherwise, there are a lot of people that are creating policies for arts that are actually making a living. Their structures are right up to UNESCO that have to do with culture and the creative industry. And people are earning money out of it. Money is coming into those organizations and those structures, and people are living out of it. The only difference is that it's not coming down, right to the practitioner. So those are things that we need to recreate and plan and ensure that we have systems that actually the whole ecosystem is healthy until the end of the value chain of the arts.
If the policies do not get fixed or do not get put into place, would you then say that arts is definitely not a means of livelihood and sustaining somebody?
Absolutely. In Zimbabwe, it's I will continue saying in Zimbabwe, because in other countries I'm seeing it's working for other people that I know and that I've worked with and that I see every day. I would say in Zimbabwe, yes, we at the moment when you choose the path of the arts, you must understand that this is still a growing profession, and you need a backup plan. You need to create something as a hustle, maybe, but also you need to have different avenues and different streams of income. This is important. Maybe not even just for artists, but for anyone. Because sometimes when we talk about it, we want to streamline it to artists alone. But what COVID has taught us, all of us, whether you're an artist, whether you're a doctor, whatever you are, it's important to have other streams of income and other forms of work where you can earn something. So it's important to diversify as a human being, not just as an artist.
So if I can go back to the qualification statement that you made earlier, you said, for example, you gave the example of medical doctors. A doctor will have to go through 7 years of school. But I would then think that creativity is rather different from trying to learn a skill of how to dissect a person or treat them. How can we formalize that? I don't understand. Maybe you can tell us more about that, formalizing and bringing the sector into repute, as you said.
Okay, I'll make it clear. There is no problem with people choosing the arts as a hobby. This is fine. There are people that go into it and sing a song for a day and leave. And we shouldn't stop them from doing that. But then we need then to say, for those that have chosen this path on a professional level and then say this is going to be my way of living, then that's where everything has to be ignited. One of those things being, I know most of our artists base what they do on talent and creativity alone. But as we go along now, we then need, when I say formalize, let's have certification of what people are doing. Because then that's one of the most important things in formalizing whatever sector we want to create or industry we want to create. Which is why you find that we have a lot of young or brilliant, talented musicians that then won't make it into other ecosystems of the industry. not only in Zimbabwe but also outside. Because then there's an offer for a job as a musician in a musical in Europe, and they want to see what grade of music you are, and all you have is, but I can sing, and in Zimbabwe they know me, and I'm very talented. So that's where then we need to be very clever now to be able to present ourselves. We have movies, we have, we need to open up our space. We have movies, we have, like for instance, if you have soapies in South Africa, I can assure you that you will not get into those soapies just because you're talented. They also want to see your track record. Where did you train? I think there, like there's AFDA, for instance, in South Africa. Did you? There's institutions that are training and also formalizing this. There's structures. There's marketing that is important. There's stables. There's management. All that. That's why I'm saying for those then that choose to do it at professional level, we need to get to that level where I am not the musician, the accountant, the director, everything of what I do. That is where then we are seen as just a sector or an industry that is not serious. You know, when we have structures, I mean, if you get into a company, you know, yes, at the end of the day, you're going to have a shoe, but there's somebody selling that shoe. There's somebody making that shoe. There's somebody designing that shoe. And they are all coming in to ensure that at the end of the day, that shoe is there and is sold to the public.
So essentially, talent will not get you outside and playing on the global scale. For example, you're saying somebody can sing, but if they have to go overseas, they'd have to be able to read a score. And if they can't read a score, which means they are not able to unlock the opportunities globally.
Absolutely. Well, that's where we need to be getting to, where we need to fit into the global ecosystem of the creative arts and arts as per se. So it's important that we do that.
So going back to COVID and vaccination, do you think enough has been done to conscientize artists about going out there and getting vaccinated?
My take is that the vaccine is there. I, for instance, have been vaccinated, but we now need an incentive to it. You know, if we don't have incentive to it, then naturally people won't find it important to do it. Because at the end of the day, I think I was at an event days before. I had to be tested anyway, even after doing my 2 vaccinations. You know, I got all my doses by now, but I still need to get tested to get into events. Yes, I think it's important to teach our people. There's not been enough that's been done. I think it's just been here and there. People need to. We can understand. Because naturally, people won't take to new things very easily. So it's important that they see, they understand, they hear. We have testimonies, we have ambassadors that go to these people, go even to the creatives and talk to them about why it's important that we vaccinate. Because COVID-19 is here to stay as we see it changing shape every day and moving on. It's not going to be gone tomorrow. So we have to learn to live with it around us. And I think it's important that we educate ourselves. And I think vaccination is one of the ways we can. I know people will be in denial. There's a lot of theories about what if, but what if won't help us, I think. We need to take risks if we want to move on. And I don't see us going back to our normal lives. People talk about a new normal, and that I can assure you some things will never be the same. So we can only do that by moving on and ensuring that we comply to methods and ideas that come in the bid to help us live again.
By incentives, do you mean beer and alcohol? Because I read somewhere that overseas, they're actually trying to give incentives like that. So is that what would apply in this case in Zimbabwe?
Well, I was hoping that when I talk about incentives, I'm talking about if, for instance, Iyasa is vaccinated, maybe allow them to do their shows because they are vaccinated. Then it will encourage others to do the same. Yes, with COVID protocol and respect to all these systems, but allow them. If a whole group is then vaccinated, allow them to work. Because already, unfortunately, people are mingling, people are doing things. And unfortunately, because when you talk about the arts, this is what is in front of people every day. So we get those in authority scared to allow it to happen. But then there should be means, in the same way that we have allowed other things to open up. There should
Tourism.
be, yeah, tourism. Let's also consider that without them performing, they don't do it for fun. They do it for a living. And that's one thing that I will say to our policymakers. Please remember that. Without a show, without a singing a song, I know people are talking digital. That's what I will elongate my answer, but I know people are talking digital, but we've not reached that level where, for instance, in my country, Zimbabwe, 1,000 people can be online to watch what I'm doing and pay for it. Yes, it can be online. Yes, I can put it online. Probably just been online forever. But the culture at the moment in our country is that people want to see things live. That was the reason of us going to events and seeing things live. And I don't think at any given time, very soon, artists can make enough money online as they were doing on their live events and live shows.
Mr. Dube, do you have any last words for our viewers of the Breakfast Club?
I will say to everyone out there, if you can support an artist, do it. And to support an artist doesn't mean you have to give them money. A word of encouragement, a word of advice. Share what they give you. If it's not for you, share it. There's somebody else who will want it, who will appreciate it. Let's appreciate one another. Let's grow together. Yeah, the future is in our hands. Of course, we have a lot of challenges, but it's important that as human beings, we come together and ensure that we achieve a better life for all, and especially a better life for artists.
Thank you so much, Nkululeko Dube, for being a part of the Breakfast Club and giving us an insightful input into the arts sector. And we wish you all the best, and hopefully we will see you after the COVID scourge has passed.
Hopefully there will be. Thank you so much.
I was chatting to Mr. Nkululeko Dube, who is the arts director of Iyasa, and we were just having a chat about how COVID-19 and the lockdown has affected the arts sector. I like what he said about supporting the arts is not necessarily giving a person money. It can be an encouraging word, sharing a poster, and just sharing whatever the person likes, or even liking a post on their Facebook page that will then create and grow the love of the arts as a sector. And please remember to stay masked up, sanitize, and maintain social distance. That's all we have on the Breakfast Club now. Please keep watching and supporting Asake Online. My name is Sizwakele Ndlovu, and that's all for now.